Okay guys, so I'm at the end of this project. This is something you guys have been following me around for a while actually. You've seen a lot of it come together. So now we're at the point where we're at the end of the project and we have to sort of evaluate what makes the most sense with what we're doing. In this case, this was a 6-unit project. I've talked about that in the past. I talked about how I was able to do it, what it was zoned for. But now we're at a different point. We're kind of in a unique crossroad. So I have 6 units. In this case, I built 6 different properties. Now I have to sell 6 of those different properties. I was able to sell 2 of those properties. So the 2 in the back are sold. One of them is under contract. It's supposed to close in 2 days. The other one's already sold and the people are living there. So now what that leaves me with are these 4 other units. So what am I gonna do? I can either continue to try and market them to sell them when they're not necessarily moving, or I can also look at the option of renting them out. And so in this case, that's what I'm doing. These 2 units actually have up for rent right now. I have had some people apply. It hasn't been crazy because November, October, December, not very favorable times to rent properties. So in this case, the market for renters is lower than I would like. It wasn't my ideal exit strategy, but in this case, you just have to kind of move with the market. You gotta be nimble. You have to adapt. I always say you adapt or die. So in this case, if I don't adapt, I'm gonna die. And so I have to figure out a way to exit this project. And part of doing that is figuring out what makes the most sense right now. So in this case, I'm gonna rent these 2 units. I have a tenant already lined up for this corner unit right here. And the unit back there is actually up for rent on the market currently. I don't have anybody who's currently applying for it. I'm continuing to market. And then I have these 2 properties on the MLS for sale. If I don't get these to move in the next probably 30 days, I'm gonna have to look at renting those too. And that's just the reality of being in this market right now, guys. You have to adapt. You have to be able to figure out other ways to exit projects, other ways to make money. In this case, I have to try to figure out a way to recapture some of that capital. So I'm spending a lot of money on this project every month. If I don't get somebody in there to help me recapture some of this capital, I can get into a really tight position. So I'm always trying to think ahead. I'm always trying to think, okay, what's next? When I started building this project, the market was on fire. It turned into a pretty expensive project overall because after COVID, the cost of everything went through the roof. Materials went really high, cost of labor went really high, and now cost to borrow money has gone really high. So this project has ended up costing a lot more than I thought, and we're in a different market than what we were when I started. So I can't sell these as fast as I thought I was going to be able to. Fortunately, I've been able to sell at least a few of them. That takes a little bit of the weight off my shoulders, but now I have to really focus my energy on what am I gonna do with these 4 units. I have 1 of them rented, so that leaves me with 3 more units that I have to figure out. This puts a lot of pressure on me as a real estate broker, as an investor, but like anybody, like my clients, like people I work with, they get into those same positions. So I have to always be thinking about ways to help them get out of those positions. And in this case, renting is the way to do it. So I'm gonna rent this unit. I currently have this unit on the market for $4,000 a month. That seems really high, but that's what the rental market is commanding right now. And so if I were to lower that down a little bit, I would probably get a lot more applicants, but I'm really trying to keep my rental pool at a higher value. And so if I get into a position or a cash crunch position where I have to bring that monthly rental value down, I will do that. But I haven't had to do that yet. So my objective right now is to rent them for the most amount of money I can. And in some cases, that may or may not even cover what your borrowing expenses are. But would you rather be hemorrhaging all of that money, or would you rather have somebody in there who's helping you recapture some of that, and then you're just at a negative equity position monthly of far less? And so it puts you into a better position. I personally believe that the market's gonna bounce back in the next 12 to 24 months. I very firmly believe that. What's really unique about this market is it's still really hot. That's what's crazy. It's really hot, there's no inventory, but I built a luxury product. Luxury products don't tend to move as quickly as they do in slower economies. And so we're in a slower economy, that's just the bottom line. It's a really weird economy because it's almost like we're artificially trying to fan the flames because the market's been so hot. I personally think the market's gonna come back even hotter than it was. And so as an investor, I have to think, do I want to take a really big hit on these right now? Or can I put myself in a position where I can hold out and weather that storm? And that's what I'm gonna try and do. So I'm gonna try and weather the storm. I'm gonna rent these out for 12 to 24 months. We're gonna see what happens during that time. If I can sell them during that time, great. If I can't, I personally believe the market will be way stronger at that period of time than it is now, and I will be able to sell them at that point. I'm also banking on appreciation. Sometimes when you're looking at these investments, you also have to be looking at the future. And in some cases, that is appreciation. Even though the market is slow, we're still appreciating. So if I have a $700,000 property and that property appreciates over the next year, let's say, at 3%, which is a pretty small appreciation. that's $21,000. So $21,000 in additional appreciation over the next 12 months versus putting myself in a position where I have to take a big price reduction right now. So I'm always trying to think about that. I'm always trying to think about what the future looks like. Obviously, I'm speculating. The market could crash tomorrow. These could be worth less than they are right now. That's the risk of real estate. That's the gamble that I'm willing to take. But I feel strongly enough. I have a strong enough pulse on the market. I know it's going to bounce back. And when it does, it's going to be hotter than it was 12 months ago. And so I feel like if I can hold on to these for that period of time, I'll be in a good position. So that's my exit strategy. That's my plan. Follow me for more content like this. Exit strategies like this are very complicated and painful sometimes, but that's the reality of real estate.